My phone buzzed at 7:30 on a Tuesday morning, jolting me awake in my downtown Denver apartment. Dad's name flashed on the screen, which immediately set off alarm bells, since he never called this early, unless something was seriously wrong. I answered on the third ring, expecting news about a medical emergency or car accident. Boris, I need you to wire $25,000 to Madison's account today. Her graduate school loans are due, and the family emergency fund isn't enough. His voice carried that familiar tone of assumed compliance, like he was asking me to pass the salt at dinner, rather than hand over my life savings. The demand hit me like a punch to the stomach, but it wasn't entirely unexpected. At 28 years old, I'd become the unofficial family bank account, funding everything from Madison's spring break trips to her car repairs while my own achievements went unnoticed. My software engineering career at TechFlow Solutions had blessed me with a six-figure salary by age 26. But apparently, that success came with invisible strings attached to my family's expectations. Growing up in suburban Denver, our family dynamics were crystal clear from early childhood. Madison, now 25, had always been the shining star who could do no wrong. Her every accomplishment was celebrated with expensive dinners and social media posts, while my promotion to senior developer last year earned a brief "that's nice" from Mom, before she immediately shifted the conversation back to Madison's latest art history project. Tyler, my 23-year-old younger brother, occupied an even more invisible position in our family hierarchy. When he'd been accepted into Colorado Technical Institute's electrical program with a partial scholarship, our parents had actually seemed disappointed that he wasn't pursuing a traditional four-year university degree. His learning disabilities had made high school challenging, but he'd worked incredibly hard to qualify for technical certification programs that would lead to stable, well-paying careers in the trades. I'd lost count of how many times I'd covered Madison's expenses over the years. Her sorority dues, apartment deposit study abroad program fees, and countless emergencies that somehow always required my immediate financial intervention. Meanwhile, Tyler's acceptance into an electrician apprenticeship program had been met with complete silence from our parents, as if blue-collar work was somehow beneath the family standards. The phone call that morning should have been another routine financial extraction, but something felt different about Dad's tone. There was an underlying entitlement that I'd never noticed before, like my money wasn't really mine to begin with. When I hesitated before responding, asking why the emergency fund couldn't cover Madison's expenses, his reaction was swift and harsh. "You owe this family everything, Boris. Madison's education is more important than whatever selfish plans you have for that money. She's going to make something meaningful of her life, not just sit behind a computer all day like some anti-social programmer." The word stung more than I expected. After building a successful career in software development, contributing to projects that improved healthcare systems across Colorado, I was still seen as the antisocial computer nerd who'd gotten lucky with technology. Madison's fine arts degree, on the other hand, represented sophistication and culture in our parents' minds, despite the fact that she'd never held a job longer than 6 months. Later that afternoon, while I was still processing Dad's financial demands, my phone buzzed with a notification that changed everything. Madison had accidentally added me to a family group chat while trying to add her boyfriend Derek to the conversation. What I discovered in that chat thread made my blood run cold. Months of messages revealed detailed planning sessions about extracting money from me for Madison's master's degree program. Mom had written extensive calculations about my income and expenses, concluding that I had plenty of disposable income since I lived alone and didn't have children. "Boris has no real expenses beyond his mortgage and car payment," she'd typed. "He can easily afford Madison's graduate school costs without any hardship." Dad had added his own commentary about my obligations to the family. "He owes us for all the support we gave him growing up. It's time for him to step up and invest in Madison's future the way we invested in his education." The messages revealed that they'd already promised Madison that I would handle her graduate school financing, treating my bank account like a family resource rather than my personal savings. The most painful discovery was reading Madison's own messages about me. She referred to me as the boring tech guy who got lucky with computers, and expressed frustration that I didn't automatically hand over money whenever she needed it. She'd calculated that I should give her $800 monthly for living expenses, plus cover tuition and emergency costs for the next 3 years, while she pursued her master's degree in fine arts. Reading those messages felt like discovering that your family had been planning to rob you while sitting around the dinner table discussing your day. The casual entitlement, the complete dismissal of my hard work, and the assumption that my success was somehow owed to them rather than earned through years of studying internships and career building left me feeling betrayed and furious. But what hurt most was realizing that Tyler wasn't included in any of these conversations. He was so invisible to our parents that they didn't even consider his existence when planning how to distribute my money. Tyler, who worked harder than anyone I knew and never complained about being overlooked, wasn't worth mentioning in their financial schemes. The group chat discovery haunted me for 3 days before I decided to visit Tyler at his apartment near campus. I'd been meaning to check on him anyway, since we rarely got to spend time together, without family gatherings turning into Madison appreciation sessions. His shared apartment was in an older complex about 15 minutes from Colorado Technical Institute, the kind of place where college students stretch their budgets as thin as possible. When Tyler answered the door, I was shocked by how exhausted he looked. Dark circles under his eyes suggested he wasn't sleeping enough, and his clothes hung loose like he'd lost weight recently. His uniform shirt from Mountain Peak Warehouse was still damp with sweat, indicating he'd just finished his overnight shift loading trucks. The apartment smelled like instant coffee and ramen noodles with electrical engineering textbooks scattered across a second-hand dining table that doubled as his study desk. "Boris, what brings you here? Everything okay?" Tyler's surprise was genuine. Like family members dropping by unannounced was completely foreign to his experience. He quickly cleared space on the couch, moving aside work uniforms and technical manuals that suggested he was studying during every free moment. I'd planned to ease into the conversation, but seeing Tyler's living conditions made subtlety impossible. "Tyler, are you working more than one job right now? You look like you haven't slept in weeks." His shoulders sagged as the question hit home. Tyler had always been terrible at hiding his emotions, and I could see him debating whether to downplay his situation or tell me the truth. After a long pause, he sank into the opposite chair and rubbed his face with both hands. "I'm working 3 jobs, actually. Morning shift at Grind Coffee House afternoon, tutoring at the Learning Center on campus, and overnight loading at Mountain Peak Warehouse. It's the only way I can afford the certification program without taking on debt that I'll never be able to pay back." The admission hung in the air between us like a confession of failure, even though Tyler's work ethic was actually extraordinary. Most college students struggled to balance one part-time job with their studies, but Tyler was somehow managing 3 jobs while maintaining excellent grades in a demanding technical program. "Tyler, why didn't you tell me you were struggling this much? I had no idea you were working nights at a warehouse on top of everything else." His laugh was bitter and self-deprecating. "What was I supposed to say? Hey, Boris, I know the family already treats you like a personal ATM for Madison's endless expenses, but could you also fund my education and living costs? I've watched what they put you through with their financial demands. I couldn't add to that burden." Tyler walked to his bedroom and returned with a composition notebook that he handed to me with obvious embarrassment. Inside were detailed budget spreadsheets, written in careful handwriting, tracking every dollar of his income and expenses. His monthly earnings from 3 jobs totaled just over $2,000, which covered rent, utilities, groceries, gas, and certification program fees, with almost nothing left over. The grocery budget was particularly heartbreaking. Tyler had calculated that he could survive on $60 per month for food by buying generic pasta rice, canned vegetables, and occasional protein sources. His clothing budget was $0, explaining why his work uniforms looked worn and his casual clothes were clearly secondhand. The notebook showed that he hadn't bought anything non-essential in 8 months, Not even a movie ticket or coffee shop treat. Tyler, this is insane. You're eating ramen noodles and working yourself to death while mom and dad pressure me to fund Madison's graduate school lifestyle. Do they have any idea what you're going through? They don't ask, and I don't volunteer the information, Tyler replied quietly. When Madison got her car for her 16th birthday, I got a pair of work boots from the discount store. When you graduated college, they threw a party for Madison's high school graduation the same weekend, so nobody really noticed your achievement. I learned early that my struggles weren't interesting enough to discuss at family dinners. Tyler showed me a folder containing certificates and transcripts that revealed just how well he was actually doing in his program. Dean's List, every semester, perfect attendance, and glowing recommendations from instructors who praised his work ethic and natural aptitude for electrical systems. These achievements had never been mentioned at family gatherings because our parents considered technical education less prestigious than traditional university degrees. I've been saving for 2 years to afford the final certification exams and the professional toolset I'll need for job interviews, Tyler continued. The exam fees alone cost $800, and quality tools for electrical work start around $1,500. I'm hoping to have everything ready by graduation in 6 weeks, but it's going to be close. Tyler mentioned his girlfriend Sarah, a nursing student who worked at Presbyterian St. Joseph Hospital. They'd been dating for 18 months and had talked about moving in together after graduation, but Tyler couldn't afford his share of a security deposit for a decent apartment. Sarah was patient and understanding about Tyler's financial situation, but Tyler felt ashamed that he couldn't contribute equally to their relationship plans. Sarah keeps telling me that relationships aren't about money, but I can't even take her out to dinner without calculating whether I can afford groceries the next week. She deserves better than a boyfriend who's always stressed about money while his sister gets handed everything she wants. The conversation revealed Tyler's dream of starting his own electrical contracting business within 5 years of graduation. He'd researched market opportunities, licensing requirements, and startup costs with the same methodical approach he applied to his studies. But those dreams felt impossibly distant when he was struggling to afford basic certification requirements. As I sat in Tyler's sparse apartment, watching him carefully portion out instant ramen for dinner while discussing his ambitious career plans, the contrast with Madison's lifestyle became starkly clear. Madison lived in a spacious apartment near the University of Colorado campus, drove a reliable car that I'd helped finance, and regularly posted social media photos from restaurants and shopping trips that cost more than Tyler's monthly food budget. The injustice of the situation made my chest tight with anger. Tyler worked harder than anyone in our family, had clear career goals, and never asked for help, despite desperately needing it. Meanwhile, Madison's every whim was treated as a family priority that required my immediate financial support. When I finally left Tyler's apartment that night, I sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to process what I'd learned. Tyler had been invisibly struggling for years, while our parents planned elaborate schemes to extract money from me for Madison's benefit. The family member who actually deserved recognition and support was being completely overlooked, while the entitled golden child received endless attention and resources. 3 days after visiting Tyler, my apartment's security buzzer rang at 8 o'clock on Saturday evening. The doorman announced that my father and sister were requesting access to my building, which immediately raised red flags, since neither of them had ever visited my downtown apartment before. I buzzed them up reluctantly, wondering what emergency could have brought them to my doorstep unannounced. Madison swept into my living room like she owned the place, carrying a leather portfolio and wearing the kind of expensive outfit that suggested shopping was more important than budgeting. Dad followed behind her, with his usual stern expression, the one he'd perfected during my teenage years, when he wanted to intimidate me into compliance. Both of them examined my apartment with obvious interest, probably calculating how much money I was wasting on rent when I could be funding Madison's lifestyle instead. "Boris, we need to settle this graduate school situation tonight," Madison announced without any greeting or small talk. She spread loan documents across my coffee table with the confidence of someone who'd never doubted that others would solve her problems. "I've brought the cosigner paperwork for my student loans. You just need to sign here, and initial these pages." The casualness of her assumption took my breath away. Madison had driven across town with loan documents expecting me to sign financial obligations worth tens of thousands of dollars without discussion or consideration. When I didn't immediately reach for a pen, her expression shifted from confident to impatient. "Madison, I haven't agreed to co-sign any loans. We've never even discussed the details of your graduate school plans or how you intend to pay for them." Dad stepped forward with his intimidating posture, the same one that had worked when I was 12 years old, and caught breaking household rules. "Boris, we've already informed the university that you'll handle the financial arrangements. The admissions office has your employment information, and the financial aid department knows about your income level. Madison's acceptance depends on having reliable financial backing." The revelation that they'd provided my personal information to university officials without my permission felt like a violation of privacy and trust. They'd essentially committed my credit and income to support Madison's education plans without asking for my consent or even informing me of their actions. Madison pulled out her phone and showed me a detailed spreadsheet she'd created outlining my expected financial contributions. Graduate school tuition would cost $32,000 per year for 3 years. Living expenses in Boston, where her program was located, would require an additional $1,800 monthly for rent, plus food, transportation, and academic materials. She'd calculated that I should provide $800 monthly for her living expenses, cover emergency costs, and handle any unexpected academic fees. "I've been planning this for 2 years, Boris. Everything depends on having family financial support, and you're the only one with enough income to make this possible. Mom and Dad have already committed their retirement savings to help with my undergraduate loans." When I asked about scholarships, grants, or part-time employment possibilities, Madison's reaction was swift and dismissive. She explained that graduate programs in fine arts were extremely demanding and wouldn't allow time for outside employment. Scholarships were limited and highly competitive, and she didn't want to risk her academic performance by worrying about money. "Boris, you don't understand the pressure I'm under. This master's program could launch my career in museum administration or art criticism. It's not like your computer job where you just sit at a desk all day. I'm pursuing something that actually contributes to culture and society." Her casual dismissal of my career felt like a slap across the face. Software development had provided me with financial stability, intellectual challenges, and the satisfaction of building systems that improved people's lives. But in Madison's mind, my work was somehow less valuable than her academic pursuits in art history. Dad supported Madison's position with his usual authoritarian approach. "Boris, it's time to step up and act like a real man. Madison has goals and ambitions that require family support. You've been selfish with your money long enough." The conversation revealed that Madison had been telling her friends and boyfriend that her rich brother would fund her entire graduate experience. She'd already made commitments to apartment rentals and academic programs based on assumed financial support from me. Derek, her boyfriend, had even quit his part-time job because Madison assured him that family money would cover their living expenses while she was in graduate school. When I suggested that Madison should consider more affordable graduate programs or explore funding options that didn't require family financing, her reaction was explosive. She screamed that I was trying to sabotage her dreams and accused me of being jealous of her academic achievements. Her voice echoed through my apartment as she listed all the ways I'd disappointed the family by prioritizing my own interests over Madison's needs. "You've always been jealous that I'm the creative one, the one with real talent and vision. You can't stand that I'm pursuing something meaningful while you waste your life writing computer code that nobody cares about. This is your chance to actually contribute something important to the world by supporting my education." Dad joined Madison's emotional outburst by reminding me of all the sacrifices our parents had made during my childhood. He claimed that paying for my undergraduate education, providing housing during college breaks, and supporting my job search after graduation created a debt that needed to be repaid through supporting Madison's academic goals. The guilt trip technique had worked effectively throughout my childhood, but listening to it as an adult felt manipulative and dishonest. My parents had provided basic support that any reasonable parents would offer their children, but they were now reframing that normal parental responsibility as an extraordinary sacrifice that created lifelong financial obligations. As Madison continued her emotional manipulation, demanding that I sign the loan documents immediately, I realized that this wasn't a family discussion about helping each other succeed. This was a planned intervention designed to pressure me into financial compliance through guilt, anger, and threats of family rejection. The entitlement was breathtaking. Madison had never asked if I could afford to support her graduate education, or whether I had my own financial goals that might be impacted by such a large commitment. She'd simply calculated that I had enough money to solve her problems, and expected me to hand it over without question or consideration. When I refused to sign the documents that evening, Madison's reaction was swift and vicious. She accused me of destroying her future out of spite and selfishness. Dad threatened that my relationship with the family would be permanently damaged if I continued to prioritize my own interests over Madison's educational opportunities. They left my apartment that night with threats and ultimatums, leaving the unsigned loan documents on my coffee table like some kind of final warning. The message was clear: comply with their financial demands, or face complete family rejection. The following Wednesday, Mom called to schedule what she described as an important family meeting at the house in Littleton. Her tone was artificially cheerful, like she was planning a birthday celebration, rather than what I suspected would be another financial intervention. She insisted that attendance was mandatory and that I should clear my Thursday evening schedule for a serious family discussion. I arrived at my childhood home to find the living room transformed into a presentation space. Mom had set up her laptop connected to the television, with printed handouts arranged on the coffee table and folding chairs positioned to face the screen. Madison sat in the front row next to Derek, while Dad occupied his usual recliner, with a stern expression that suggested this meeting would not be open to debate. The formality of the setup immediately put me on edge. This wasn't a casual family conversation, but an organized intervention designed to overwhelm me with pressure and guilt until I agreed to their financial demands. Mom dimmed the lights and launched into a PowerPoint presentation titled Boris's Family Financial Responsibilities, a 5-Year Plan. The first slide displayed a detailed analysis of my income expenses and estimated savings. They'd researched salary ranges for software engineers at my company, calculated my mortgage payments based on public property records, and estimated my monthly expenses down to grocery costs and utility bills. The thoroughness of their financial investigation felt invasive and creepy, like they'd been monitoring my personal finances for months. As you can see, Mom explained while pointing to various charts, Boris has significant disposable income that could be redirected toward family priorities. After accounting for his basic living expenses, vehicle costs, and reasonable entertainment budget, he has approximately $2,300 monthly in excess funds. The term excess funds made my stomach turn. Money that I'd been saving for my own future, possibly buying a house with more space, or starting my own consulting business, was being reframed as family resources that I was selfishly hoarding instead of sharing with Madison. Dad took over the presentation for the next section, which outlined a detailed multi-year plan for how I should distribute my money among family members. Madison's graduate school costs were listed as the top priority, requiring immediate monthly payments starting in August. But the plan also included provisions for Mom and Dad's future retirement expenses, potential emergency medical costs, and even a fund for Madison's post-graduation apartment deposits and job search expenses. We've calculated that supporting Madison's education is actually an investment in the family's future earning potential. Dad explained with the confidence of someone who'd never doubted his own logic. Her graduate degree in fine arts could lead to museum positions or art criticism careers that would bring prestige and cultural connections to our family name. The presentation included a detailed timeline showing how I should adjust my personal spending to accommodate family financial needs. My vacation budget should be eliminated entirely. Dining out expenses should be minimized, and any plans for home improvements or vehicle upgrades should be postponed indefinitely. They'd essentially planned my entire financial future around subsidizing Madison's lifestyle and their own retirement comfort. Derek Madison's boyfriend contributed his own commentary about family loyalty and social responsibility. He lectured me about privilege and suggested that my success in the technology industry was somehow unearned or accidental. According to Derek, family wealth should be shared equally, regardless of who actually earned the money, and my reluctance to support Madison demonstrated selfishness and a lack of character. Families are supposed to support each other's dreams, Derek declared, with the righteousness of someone who'd never worked a full-time job. Boris has been blessed with financial success, and now he has an opportunity to use that blessing to help someone he loves achieve her goals. Refusing to help Madison is basically a betrayal of everything family should represent. The moral lecturing from Derek, who had quit his part-time job expecting to live off my support for Madison, felt particularly galling. He'd positioned himself as an expert on family values while planning to benefit directly from my forced generosity. Madison's contribution to the presentation focused on the emotional manipulation techniques that had worked throughout our childhood. She reminded me of all the times she'd shared toys, helped with homework, or included me in social activities with her friends. These normal sibling interactions were being reframed as extraordinary sacrifices that created debt obligations requiring financial repayment decades later. I've always been there for you, Boris. When you were struggling with social anxiety in high school, I invited you to parties and tried to help you make friends. When you were stressed about job interviews, I listened to you practice your presentations. Now I'm asking for the same kind of support, except I need financial help instead of emotional support. The comparison was deliberately misleading. Madison's casual kindness during our teenage years was being equated with a request for me to hand over tens of thousands of dollars for her graduate school expenses. But the emotional manipulation was effective, designed to make me feel guilty for not reciprocating her past support with immediate financial compliance. The climax of the presentation came when Mom revealed that they'd been saving all of my childhood belongings, school projects, and achievement awards in the basement storage room. Photo albums, science fair trophies, high school graduation items, and even my old bedroom furniture were being held hostage as leverage for their financial demands. If you continue to prioritize your own selfish interests over Madison's education, we'll need to clear out the basement and dispose of everything, Mom announced with artificial sadness. It's too painful to keep reminders of a son who refuses to help his own family succeed. The threat to destroy my personal history, unless I complied with their demands, felt like emotional terrorism. They were weaponizing sentimental attachments and childhood memories to force financial compliance, treating my personal belongings like collateral in a loan negotiation. Dad concluded the presentation with an ultimatum that left no room for compromise. Either I would commit to their 5-year financial plan immediately, or I would be excluded from all future family gatherings, holidays, and celebrations. My relationship with Madison Mom and Dad would be permanently severed unless I agreed to fund Madison's graduate education and contribute to their retirement planning. The organized nature of the intervention was stunning in its manipulation and entitlement. They'd spent weeks preparing charts, timelines, and emotional arguments designed to overwhelm my resistance through pressure, guilt, and threats. The presentation assumed that my money belonged to them and that my personal financial goals were irrelevant compared to their family priorities. As I sat through their carefully planned assault on my independence and financial autonomy, I realized that this wasn't a family discussion, but a financial shakedown designed to extract maximum money through emotional manipulation and social pressure. The family intervention left me feeling angry and manipulated, But it also clarified something important. I needed to talk to Tyler about what was really happening in our family. The next evening, I drove to his apartment with dinner from his favorite Mexican restaurant, hoping to have an honest conversation without the pressure and drama that seemed to follow every family gathering. Tyler answered the door, looking surprised but pleased to see me again so soon. His apartment still showed signs of his exhausting work schedule, with uniforms hanging to dry and textbooks scattered across every surface. But he seemed more relaxed than during my previous visit, like having someone acknowledge his struggles had lifted some invisible weight from his shoulders. "Boris, you didn't need to bring dinner. I was just about to heat up some leftover pasta." Tyler's gratitude for simple kindness was heartbreaking, suggesting that small gestures of care were rare in his daily experience. While we unpacked the food, I decided to be direct about my concerns. "Tyler, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me. Have Mom and Dad told you anything about my financial situation, or suggested that I'm struggling with debt or money problems?" Tyler's expression immediately shifted to confusion and concern. He set down his fork and studied my face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "Boris, are you having financial trouble? Is that why you're asking? Because if you need help, I've been setting aside money just in case things got really bad for you." The admission hit me like a physical blow. Tyler, who could barely afford food and was working 3 jobs to survive, had been saving money to help me, based on lies our parents had told him about my financial situation. "What exactly did they tell you about my situation?" I asked, dreading the answer, but needing to understand the full scope of their manipulation. Tyler's explanation revealed a systematic campaign of deception that had been going on for months. Mom had told him that I was struggling with mortgage payments and credit card debt from overspending on my apartment and car. Dad had suggested that my job at TechFlow Solutions was unstable and that I might be laid off at any time due to company budget cuts. They'd painted a picture of me as financially irresponsible and teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Mom said you were too proud to ask for family help, but that you were stressed about losing your house if you couldn't catch up on payments. She asked me not to mention it to you directly because it would embarrass you, but to keep an eye out for signs that you needed support. Tyler walked to his bedroom and returned with an envelope containing $317 in cash money he'd been slowly accumulating by skipping meals and working extra hours whenever possible. He'd planned to give me this money when my financial situation became desperate, believing that our parents' stories about my struggles were accurate. The sight of that envelope containing money that Tyler had literally saved by going hungry made me feel sick with rage at our parents' manipulation. They'd convinced Tyler that I needed his help, while simultaneously demanding that I fund Madison's lavish graduate school plans. Tyler had been sacrificing his own basic needs to save money for a crisis that didn't exist. "Tyler, I need you to understand something very important. I'm not struggling financially at all. I have a stable job, significant savings, and no debt problems. Mom and Dad lied to you about my situation because they wanted you to feel sorry for me, while they pressured me to give money to Madison." Tyler's face went through a series of emotions as he processed this information. Confusion gave way to hurt, then anger, and finally, a deep sadness that suggested he was realizing the full extent of his invisibility within our family dynamics. "So while I was working nights at the warehouse and skipping meals to save money for your emergency, they were actually pressuring you to pay for Madison's graduate school." Tyler's voice was quiet, but filled with pain. "I've been defending you in family conversations, telling them that you'd already helped the family enough and that they should leave you alone." Tyler revealed that his defense of me had led to him being excluded from family planning discussions entirely. When he'd suggested that I deserved to keep my own money for my own goals, Mom and Dad had stopped including him in conversations about family finances. His support for my independence had made him even more invisible than usual. "I've been proud of your success, Boris. I kept newspaper clippings about your company's projects and your promotions in the tech industry. When that article came out about TechFlow Solutions improving hospital systems, I showed it to my classmates, and told them about my brother who was helping save lives through better technology. Tyler retrieved a small box from his closet containing newspaper articles, printed emails from my company's newsletter, and even screenshots of LinkedIn posts about projects I'd worked on. While our parents dismissed my career achievements as boring computer work, Tyler had been quietly celebrating my success and feeling proud to be related to me. I never told you this because I thought you were dealing with financial stress, but Sarah keeps encouraging me to reach out to you for advice about starting my own business after graduation. She thinks you could help me understand how to build a professional network and maybe even connect me with potential clients who need electrical work. The conversation revealed that Tyler's girlfriend, Sarah, had been advocating for stronger connections between Tyler and me. As a nursing student, she understood the value of family support systems and had been encouraging Tyler to overcome his shyness about reaching out to his successful older brother. Tyler also admitted that he'd been feeling guilty about not being able to help me during what he believed was a difficult financial period. His own struggles seemed less important when he thought I was facing the possibility of losing my house or dealing with overwhelming debt. The weight of believing that both of us were struggling had made his own situation feel even more hopeless. As we talked late into the evening, Tyler's true character became crystal clear. Despite being overlooked and undervalued by our parents, he'd maintained loyalty to both Madison and me. He'd defended my right to financial independence, while also preparing to sacrifice his own meager savings to help me through a crisis that existed only in our parents' lies. The contrast with Madison's entitled demands couldn't have been more stark. Tyler, who actually needed and deserved family support, had never asked for help and had even been prepared to help others despite his own struggles. Madison, who had received endless family resources, felt entitled to demand even more money for her graduate school dreams. Sitting in Tyler's sparse apartment looking at the evidence of his genuine care and sacrifice, I realized that our family had completely inverted the concepts of worth and need. The person who deserved celebration and support was being ignored, while the person who contributed nothing but demands received endless attention and resources. Tyler's revelation about saving money to help me while struggling to survive himself had sparked an idea that grew stronger each day. If our parents could orchestrate elaborate schemes to extract money from me for Madison's benefit, I could certainly plan something meaningful to recognize Tyler's character and hard work. But this wouldn't be about money changing hands between family members. This would be about genuine recognition for someone who'd earned it. I spent the following week researching real estate options in Tyler's area, looking for properties that would be perfect for a young couple starting their careers. Sarah had mentioned during previous conversations that she and Tyler hoped to live together after graduation, but Tyler's financial situation made that dream seem impossibly distant. A starter home in a good neighborhood could give them the foundation they needed to build a life together. Working with Rebecca Chen, a real estate agent who specialized in first-time homebuyers, I found the perfect property, a 3-bedroom ranch-style house in Thornton with a 2-car garage that would be ideal for Tyler's future electrical contracting tools and equipment. The house had been recently updated with modern appliances and energy-efficient systems, and the neighborhood was known for having young professional couples starting families. The property cost $138,000, which would normally require a significant down payment and mortgage approval process. But my savings and investment accounts contained enough money to purchase the house, outright eliminating any debt obligations for Tyler and Sarah. The money I'd been saving for my own house upgrade would instead go toward giving Tyler the kind of support that actually mattered. I coordinated secretly with Sarah to understand Tyler's graduation timeline and ceremony details. Tyler's electrical certification program would culminate in a formal graduation ceremony at the Colorado Convention Center, where family members were invited to celebrate the achievements of new technical professionals. Sarah helped me confirm that our entire family planned to attend, which would make the surprise even more meaningful. Sarah was ecstatic about the plan, but worried about Tyler's reaction to such an enormous gift. Boris, Tyler is going to be overwhelmed. He's been so stressed about money that he can't even imagine receiving something this generous. "Are you sure you want to do something this big?" Her concern was understandable, but I explained that Tyler's character and work ethic had earned this recognition. While Madison received family financial support for pursuing her interests, Tyler had been working 3 jobs and maintaining excellent grades without any acknowledgement of his efforts. This wasn't charity. This was overdue recognition for years of hard work and genuine achievement. The week before Tyler's graduation, I finalized all the paperwork and arranged for professional photographers to capture the moment when Tyler learned about his new house. I also hired a videographer to document the ceremony, knowing that this would be a memory worth preserving regardless of how our family reacted to my decision. Graduation day arrived with perfect May, weather sunny and warm, with clear blue skies that seemed to promise good things ahead. The ceremony was held in a large conference hall, decorated with banners celebrating the achievements of new electrical technicians, HVAC specialists, and automotive repair experts. Tyler looked proud and nervous in his cap and gown, surrounded by classmates who'd worked just as hard to reach this milestone. Our family arrived together with Mom and Dad making polite conversation about Tyler's future job prospects, while Madison complained about having to attend a trade school graduation instead of doing something more interesting. Their lack of enthusiasm for Tyler's achievement was disappointing, but not surprising given their track record of dismissing his accomplishments. Tyler's name was called with honors recognition for maintaining perfect attendance and achieving Dean's List status throughout his certification program. His classmates cheered as he crossed the stage to receive his certificate, and I felt genuinely proud watching my brother accept well-deserved recognition for years of hard work and dedication. During the reception, following the ceremony, families gathered to celebrate with their graduates over cake and punch. Tyler introduced Sarah and me to his instructors, who praised his technical aptitude and work ethic. Several classmates mentioned that Tyler had helped them with difficult concepts and study sessions, demonstrating the same generous character that had led him to save money for my non-existent financial crisis. As the reception began to wind down, I asked for everyone's attention and announced that I had something important to share with Tyler. The room grew quiet as family members, classmates, and instructors focused on what I was about to say. "Tyler, for years, you've worked harder than anyone I know while receiving less recognition than you deserve. You've maintained excellent grades while working 3 jobs, helped your classmates succeed, and never complained about the challenges you've faced. Today, I want to celebrate your achievement with a gift that reflects how proud I am of your character and dedication." I handed Tyler an envelope containing house keys, the property deed with his name listed as owner, and a letter explaining that the house was his without any mortgage payments or financial obligations. Tyler opened the envelope with shaking hands, and I watched his face change from confusion to disbelief to overwhelming emotion as he realized what he was holding. "Boris, I don't understand. This says I own a house in Thornton. How is this possible? You own a 3-bedroom house with a garage perfect for your electrical business equipment. The moving truck will be available next weekend, and Sarah already has the address if you want to drive by and see your new home." Tyler's reaction was immediate and overwhelming. He burst into tears of joy and disbelief, hugging me so tightly that I thought he might break my ribs. Sarah screamed with happiness and excitement, jumping up and down, while other people in the room began applauding and cheering for Tyler's incredible good fortune. Tyler's classmates and instructors gathered around to congratulate him, amazed that someone their age had just been given such an extraordinary gift. The celebration was loud and joyful, with Tyler's achievement finally receiving the kind of attention and recognition he'd always deserved. But not everyone in the room was celebrating Tyler's good fortune. Madison's face had turned pale with shock and fury as she realized that the money she'd assumed would fund her graduate school had instead been given to Tyler. Dad's expression was one of barely controlled rage, while Mom looked like she'd been personally betrayed by my decision to support Tyler instead of Madison. The contrast between Tyler's genuine joy and our parents' obvious anger was stark and telling. Tyler had never expected family financial support and was overwhelmed by receiving recognition he'd never imagined possible. Meanwhile, Madison and our parents were furious that money they'd already claimed for their own purposes had been given to someone they considered less deserving. Tyler's instructor approached me to express admiration for my generosity and recognition of Tyler's achievements. Sir Tyler has been one of our most dedicated students, and it's wonderful to see his hard work recognized by his family. This kind of support will make all the difference in his career prospects. As Tyler continued hugging Sarah and excitedly discussing their new living situation, I realized that this moment represented everything our family dynamics had been missing: genuine recognition for real achievement support for someone who'd earned it through character and effort, and celebration of success that had been accomplished through hard work rather than entitlement. The house wasn't just a gift. It was a statement about what kinds of behavior and character deserved recognition and support. The graduation reception had been filled with joy and celebration for Tyler's achievement, but I could see storm clouds gathering in our parents' expressions as they processed what had just happened. Madison stood frozen near the punch table, clutching her phone like she wanted to call someone who could reverse my decision to give Tyler the house instead of funding her graduate school dreams. The explosion came 15 minutes later when Dad could no longer contain his rage at my financial independence. In front of Tyler's classmates, instructors, and other graduating families, he started shouting at me with a fury that made everyone in the room stop their conversations and stare. That money was for her loans. Dad's voice echoed through the conference hall as he pointed accusingly at Madison. You had no right to give Tyler a house when Madison needs that money for her education. You've stolen from your sister's future to waste money on someone who's just going to fix electrical problems for a living. The public outburst was even more damaging than I'd expected. Dad's words revealed to everyone present that he'd assumed ownership of my money and considered Tyler's career aspirations worthless compared to Madison's academic goals. The other families looked shocked and disgusted by the entitled attitude toward my financial decisions and the dismissive comments about Tyler's chosen profession. Mom joined Dad's public meltdown by declaring that Tyler didn't deserve such generosity, while Madison actually needed family support for meaningful academic pursuits. Boris has destroyed Madison's graduate school plans to give an expensive gift to someone who should be grateful for basic family support. This is completely unfair to Madison, who has real educational goals that require investment. Madison's contribution to the scene was even more revealing than our parents' anger. She screamed that I had stolen her graduate school funding and given it to someone who just fixes electrical problems and will never contribute anything important to society. Her dismissal of Tyler's career choice and her assumption that my money belonged to her exposed the entitled attitude that had driven years of family financial drama. Tyler's classmates and instructors witnessed this family meltdown with obvious shock and disgust. Several people approached Tyler to express support and admiration for his achievements, making it clear that they considered our parents' behavior completely inappropriate for a graduation celebration. The contrast between Tyler's humble gratitude and our family's public entitlement couldn't have been more stark. One of Tyler's instructors, an older man named Frank Morrison, who'd worked in electrical contracting for 30 years, approached me during the chaos to express his thoughts about what he'd witnessed. Son, I've seen a lot of family dynamics over the years, and what you did for Tyler shows real understanding of character and worth. That young man has earned every bit of recognition he's received. Tyler finally found his voice during our parents' public tantrum, speaking up to defend both his career choice and my right to make my own financial decisions. Dad, Mom, this is my graduation day, and Boris chose to celebrate my achievements instead of funding demands that I never supported anyway. I'm proud of my electrical certification, and I'm grateful to have a brother who recognizes hard work and character. Sarah supported Tyler by announcing their engagement and their plans to build a life together in the house I'd given them. Tyler has worked harder than anyone I know, and he deserves to be celebrated instead of ignored. We're going to be very happy in our new home, and we appreciate Boris's generosity more than we can express. The public support from Tyler's classmates, instructors, and girlfriend made our parents' behavior look even more petty and selfish. Several families approached me to express admiration for recognizing Tyler's achievements and supporting someone who'd clearly earned family recognition through years of hard work. As the graduation reception ended and people began leaving, our parents delivered their final ultimatum with the same entitled fury they'd shown throughout the public scene. Dad announced that I would be excluded from all future family gatherings unless I reversed my decision about the house and redirected the money toward Madison's graduate school plans. "You've made your choice, Boris," Mom declared with theatrical sadness. "You've chosen to support someone who doesn't appreciate education over someone who's trying to make something meaningful of her life. Don't expect to be welcome at family holidays or celebrations until you fix this situation." Their threat to exclude me from family gatherings felt more like liberation than punishment, after witnessing their public display of entitlement and manipulation. The family relationships that required me to subsidize Madison's lifestyle while ignoring Tyler's achievements weren't worth preserving anyway. Tyler's response to our parents' ultimatum was immediate and powerful. "If Boris isn't welcome at family gatherings, then Sarah and I won't be attending either. He's the only family member who's ever supported my goals and recognized my achievements. We're going to build our own family traditions based on mutual respect and genuine support." Over the following weeks, Tyler and Sarah moved into their new house with excitement and gratitude that made the entire decision worthwhile. Tyler's electrical contracting business began taking shape in the garage, with professional tools and equipment that his certification program success had earned. Sarah's nursing career provided stable income, while Tyler built his client base through quality work and reliable service. I helped Tyler establish business connections through my professional network, introducing him to property management companies and small business owners who needed reliable electrical contractors. Tyler's work ethic and technical skills quickly earned him excellent references and repeat customers, proving that his career choice was both practical and profitable. Madison faced the reality of funding her own education through student loans, part-time employment, and financial aid programs, like millions of other graduate students. Without access to my financial support, she was forced to consider more affordable program options and develop realistic plans for supporting herself during her studies. The family dynamics shifted permanently after Tyler's graduation day. Mom and Dad occasionally reached out with guilt trips and manipulation attempts, but their power to control my financial decisions had been broken by my public support for Tyler's achievements. Madison's entitled demands for money became background noise that I could easily ignore. Tyler and Sarah's relationship flourished in their new home, with Tyler's growing business success providing the financial stability they needed to plan their future together. Sarah's family welcomed me warmly, appreciating my recognition of Tyler's character and my support for their relationship. 6 months after graduation, Tyler's electrical contracting business was profitable enough for him to hire his first apprentice. He specialized in residential service calls and small commercial projects, building a reputation for honest pricing and reliable work that generated steady referrals and repeat customers. The life lesson from this experience was crystal clear. True family relationships are built on mutual respect and genuine support for each other's achievements, not on financial exploitation and emotional manipulation. Character and hard work deserve recognition, regardless of whether the achievements match family expectations or social prestige markers. Tyler had demonstrated real worth through years of dedication, sacrifice, and genuine kindness toward others. Madison had shown entitled selfishness and assumption that other people's success belonged to her. Supporting Tyler while refusing Madison's demands wasn't revenge. It was justice based on recognizing actual character and merit. The house I'd given Tyler represented more than financial generosity. It was a statement that overlooked family members deserve recognition, that hard work should be celebrated, and that entitled behavior shouldn't be rewarded with continued support. Tyler and Sarah's happiness in their new home, combined with Tyler's business success and their strong relationship, proved that supporting people who've earned recognition through character creates positive outcomes for everyone involved. Meanwhile, Madison's forced independence led to more realistic expectations and actual personal growth as she learned to support herself. The contrast between Tyler's grateful appreciation and Madison's angry entitlement revealed everything anyone needed to know about character worth and the kind of behavior that deserves family support and recognition. What do you think makes the difference between family members who deserve support and those who just demand it? Have you ever had to choose between helping someone who'd earned your help versus someone who just expected it? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more stories about family dynamics, personal growth, and standing up for what's right. Share this with someone who might need to hear about recognizing real character and worth in their own family relationships. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found something meaningful in Tyler's journey from being overlooked to being truly celebrated for who he really is.